The first thing I remember is the sound of laughter. Not the friendly kind, not the warm kind. The kind that sticks to your skin and follows you home. It was coming from behind me from a group of people who had already decided who I was without ever asking. And in that moment, standing there with everyone watching, I realized something uncomfortable and sharp. This wasn't just about me messing up. This was about them believing I belonged at the bottom. Yeah, that was the day everything started to change. My name is Eli Carter, or at least that's the name I go by now. Back then, names didn't really matter. I was the kid who didn't fit, the one people underestimated, talked over, laughed at when things went wrong. I grew up in a small industrial town where everyone knew everyone, and reputations stuck like glue. My family didn't have money. My dad worked nights at a packaging plant until his back gave out. My mom cleaned offices after hours. We didn't starve, but we were always one bad week away from panic. You know what I mean? At school, I learned early how invisible someone can feel in a crowded hallway. Teachers didn't expect much from me. Classmates barely noticed me unless they needed someone to joke about. I kept my head down, did my work, told myself it didn't matter. I said I didn't care, and for a while I almost believed it. Almost? The real trouble started when I got my first job at 19. It was a logistics company on the edge of town, big warehouse, long hours, decent pay if you could survive the culture. My supervisor, a guy named Rick Dalton, made it clear from day one that he didn't think I belonged there. He talked to me slower than everyone else like I was stupid, corrected me loudly in front of coworkers, smirked when I asked questions, and when mistakes happened, even ones that weren't mine, somehow they always landed on my shoulders. "Try to keep up, Carter," he'd say, leaning back in his chair. "This isn't high school." People laughed. Not because it was funny, but because laughing was safer than being next. At first I swallowed it. I needed the job. My dad was already injured by then medical bills stacking up. So I worked harder. Came in early, stayed late, learned every system, every shortcut. I memorized procedures Rick barely understood himself. And slowly, something shifted. Not outside, inside. I started noticing patterns. Shipments that went missing. Inventory errors that were blamed on new guys but traced back to management shortcuts. Safety rules ignored when they slowed things down. I kept notes, not because I planned anything, just because I couldn't stand the idea of being blamed for things I didn't do anymore. The breaking point came on a Friday afternoon, end of the month. Big audit coming up. Everyone was tense. A high-value shipment went missing and Rick lost it. He stormed onto the warehouse floor, red-faced, shouting my name like he already had the verdict. "Eli, get in here, now." He dragged me into the office door open, everyone watching. "You signed off on this shipment," he said, slamming papers on the desk. "It's gone. You want to explain that?" I looked at the paperwork. My signature was there, but so was his override code time-stamped after my shift ended. I followed protocol, I said calm, but shaking inside. The system shows a manual reroute after I clocked out. Rick laughed. Actually laughed. "Are you accusing me now?" The room went quiet. You could feel it. That moment where everyone decides whether you're worth taking seriously. "I'm saying the data shows what happened," I replied. That's when he leaned forward, eyes cold. "Listen, kid. People like you don't win these conversations. You mess up, you take it, and you move on. That's how this works." Something snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. "I'm not taking responsibility for something I didn't do," I said. "And I have records to prove it." Rick's smile disappeared. HR got involved. Then corporate. What Rick didn't know was that I wasn't the only one keeping notes. A couple of coworkers, people who'd been there longer than me, quietly backed me up. They'd been waiting for someone else to speak first. Turns out, courage is contagious. The investigation took 2 weeks. 2 long, quiet weeks where Rick barely looked at me and everyone else suddenly treated me like I might matter. When the results came in, it wasn't just about the missing shipment. They found years of shortcuts, falsified reports, safety violations. Rick was escorted out one morning without a word. No apology, no announcement, just gone. For the first time in my life, I felt something I wasn't used to. Validation. Not applause, not praise, Just the quiet understanding that I wasn't wrong about myself. You'd think that would be the victory right roll credits. Happy ending. But that's not how it works. After Rick left, people started looking at me differently. Some with respect, some with resentment, a few with suspicion, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. I was offered a temporary supervisory role. Me. The kid who couldn't keep up. The first day in that role, I stood in front of the same team that used to laugh along with Rick. My hands were shaking. My voice almost cracked. But I remembered every moment I'd been talked down to every time someone assumed I'd fail. I'm not here to be anyone's hero, I told them. I'm here to do the job right. And if something's broken, we fix it. Together. Some nodded, some didn't. That was fine. The real test came a month later. Another manager higher up this time tried to pressure me into signing off on an incomplete safety inspection. Everyone does it, he said casually. Don't be difficult. I looked him in the eye and said I already tried being quiet. It didn't work. He warned me I was risking my position. I told him I was more concerned about risking someone's life. That conversation made its way upstairs fast. This time there was no investigation. Just a decision. The policy changed. Inspections became mandatory, documented, transparent. And suddenly, people started coming to me with concerns, ideas, things they'd been afraid to say before. I didn't win by overpowering anyone. I won by refusing to disappear. Here's the part that still messes with me. A year later, I ran into Rick at a gas station outside town. He looked smaller somehow, tired. He recognized me immediately. Didn't think you'd last, he said not unkindly, just honest. I shrugged. Neither did I. He nodded slowly, then said something I didn't expect. You did the right thing. I just didn't want to be the one held accountable. We stood there for a moment, two people on opposite sides of a story that never really ends cleanly. Then he got in his car and drove away. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel revenge. I felt clarity. Because this wasn't about beating Rick, or proving anything to the people who laughed. It was about rewriting the version of myself I'd been taught to accept. The quiet kid, the easy target, the one who should be grateful just to be there. I learned that being underestimated is painful, but it's also dangerous for the people doing the underestimating. Because when someone who's been ignored learns to speak, they tend to speak with truth. And truth has a way of making noise. Today, I still work in logistics. I train new hires. And when I see that look in someone's eyes, the one that says they think they don't belong, I make a point to listen, to really listen, because I know how close I came to believing the wrong story about myself. So here's my question for you. When someone is judged, dismissed, or silenced, who decides what they're worth? And when the system protects the powerful instead of the honest, is it wrong to challenge it, even if it makes people uncomfortable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've ever been underestimated, or if you've seen someone punished for telling the truth. And if this story hit close to home, stick around. There are more conversations we need to have, and they don't start by staying quiet.